I'm Mike Barnicle.
I'm John Heilemann. And with all due respect to Kanye West and his presidential aspirations, maybe you should aim for something slightly more modest and consider second billing. Kanye is more thoughtful. I agree with that. Okay. Happy Mike Barnicle Day. Mike Barnicle is back day, sports fans. On the menu tonight, gefilte fish and a glass of Selzer. But first, filet of Trump. John Ellis Bush took his Trump bashing to the next level today, responding to a video that the Donald released yesterday that attacked Jeb on immigration and reminded some people, actually a lot of people, of that infamous Willie Horton ad. Jeb's first response came in the form of a video this morning.
I lived in New York City and Manhattan all my life, okay? So, you know, my views are a little bit different than if I lived in Iowa.
Partial birth abortion.
I'm very pro-choice.
As far as single payer, it works in Canada. It works incredibly well in Scotland.
Who would you like representing the United States in a deal with Iran, with this regime there?
Well, I think Hillary would do a good job. Hillary Clinton, I think, is a terrific woman. I mean, I'm a little biased because I've known her for years.
All right. So then, at a campaign event in Miami, Jeb took his second swing, using two languages to attack Trump. In Spanish, he said that the Donald insults anyone who doesn't agree with him. And in English, he said this.
It's all personal for him, sure. If you look at his record of what he believes, he supports Democrats. You know, while I was campaigning for Republicans in this state and all across the country, conservative, reform-minded candidates, he was supporting Hillary Clinton and thinks Hillary Clinton would be a good negotiator as it relates to dealing with Iran. I mean, this is not a guy who's a conservative.
Trump, meanwhile, later in the day, launched his counteroffensive on his favorite medium, Twitter. He tweeted, quote, "Yet another weak hit by a candidate with a failing campaign. Will Jeb sink as low in the polls as the others who've gone after me?" But that's not where Trump ended. He didn't stop there. Later this afternoon, the Donald released yet another video.
We recognize the commitment of someone who has devoted her life to public service. I want to say thank you to both Secretary Clinton and to President Clinton.
What does that make Hillary Clinton to the Bush family? My sister-in-law.
All right, so Bush and Trump now, like, they battle it out. They duke it out every single day, pretty much. In terms of today, there were a lot of fisticuffs. Tit-tat, tit-tat. Who won this day of Trump versus Bush?
We did. The media. We won. Yeah. I mean, you figure the average mean temperature across the United States today in early September is about 96 degrees. Yeah. People are sweating profusely, looking for a swimming pool. They don't care about politics. So these two things have energized the media to pay more attention to people who don't need attention paid to.
It's true. I mean, look, it is interesting. Jeb is not giving up on this notion of trying to paint Trump as a closet Democrat. He likes that they think this is how they win. I'm the conservative. He's not really the conservative. And yet you have someone like Steve Schmidt go on television earlier this week and say that Trump is effectively emasculating Jeb Bush. I think this is a smart plan on paper, but I'm not sure it's playing out from Jeb's point of view in the way that Jeb would like it to.
Well, except you consider the fact that Jeb is the only one of the Republican candidates that we're talking about other than Trump. Yes. He's the only one that stays in the conversation because of this.
In the short term, I think, Jeb's performance is often not that great, although I like the idea of a bilingual attack on Trump, saying kind of the meanest things in Spanish. I sort of like that. But I do think there's a long game here. And, if you believe Mike Murphy's theory, there will be a Trump, there will be an anti-Trump. Jeb Bush wants to be the anti-Trump. And right now, it's Jeb Bush, John Kasich. Those are the ones people think about. Jeb, I think, is trying to position himself for that long run.
We're not talking about John Kasich. We're talking about Jeb Bush.
We are not. And you wonder if you're a Kasich fan, are you sitting there thinking to yourself, why is my guy not going after Donald Trump?
So, referee Mike Barnicle there in the corner with the scoring card, I call it a draw today.
You call it a draw?
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
The new numbers out today in the Bloomberg Politics Des Moines Register Iowa poll dig deeper into just what's behind Donald Trump's rise. 37% of likely Republican caucus goers said they liked the way Trump, quote, tells it like it is, unquote. They liked his business success and that he's not a career politician. The poll also found that when it comes to Trump, people see what they want. Some voters said he was conservative, others moderate, some think he's liberal. John, as we talked about yesterday, Trump's dipped a little in this poll. Ben Carson's catching up. What do you think's going on in Iowa?
Well, look, I mean, for one thing, it's fascinating that Trump, his approval rating and his favorable, unfavorables improved a lot in this poll. This Rorschach thing is really interesting, that people ascribe whatever views they see in Trump. They generally refute, they take their own views and they cast them on Trump. The other thing that's in this poll that we didn't talk about, we didn't show on screen there, 46% of Trump voters, people who support Trump, are also believers that Barack Obama was not born in the United States, according to our poll in Iowa. So that's part of what's going on out there.
Well, you know, skip Iowa on your way to Yosemite. But let me ask you two questions.
Yeah.
One, what do you think about the fact that Ben Carson has pretty much drawn even with Trump in Iowa with no media exposure? And two, do you think Donald Trump really cares about these numbers?
Well, yes. I think from the first point, we're going to talk to our pollsters later in the show about some of what's going on with Ben Carson. A lot of it has to do with the evangelical vote. He's out there more than we see, and because he's so low-key compared to Trump, we don't see the work that he's doing out there with a certain segment of the electorate. I think Trump loves these numbers. He loves any number that he can point to as a sign. He's been more obsessed with polls than any other candidate in history, and that's saying something. He loves to be able to point to that because that is the only way he can show that he's winning. He points to the polls. I won today. Do
you think he's going through polls the way a lot of politicians do?
Well, I don't think he's
pulling the tabs.
Yeah, looking at the crosstabs. I don't know if he's drilling down that way, but I think he sees that top line number that says Trump's in first. Yeah. I'm ahead. Everyone else is dropping. Yeah. Do you think Donald Trump, when we get to Iowa, do you think Donald Trump could be the winner of the Iowa caucuses? You know Iowa pretty well.
I don't.
You don't?
No.
Okay, why not?
The evangelicals.
The evangelicals. You think Trump's eventually going to crumble on that?
I don't think he's going to crumble, but I think he could lose because of them.
Okay. Mike does not believe that Trump's favorite book is the Bible. All right. President Obama picked up two crucial backers for his Iran nuclear deal today. The support of Pennsylvania Senator Bob Casey and Delaware Senator Chris Coons put the president just one vote short of the 34 he needs in the Senate to uphold a veto to a Republican resolution of disapproval for that deal. Mike, my question for you, twofold. Is this now a done deal, the Iranian nuclear deal, and how big a deal is it if that deal is done?
Well, I don't think it's a done deal. I don't think it's ever a done deal until they cast their ballots, and then we find out whether it's a done deal or not. In the immortal words of Vice President Joe Biden, this is a big deleted deal.
Freaking deal.
This is a big deal because it's a signature moment for the Obama presidency. It's a signature moment for the Middle East. It's a signature moment for diplomacy in general. The Secretary of State, John Kerry, has spent an inordinate amount of time and energy on this for a couple of years at least.
I have said for a long time that I thought that they would easily get to the point where Obama has gotten now, more or less, which is being able to override to be able to sustain a veto if he has to veto a Republican resolution. I think he's going to get more. I think he's going to get enough Democrats to be able to filibuster a Republican resolution of disapproval and keep it from ever happening. He needs now, Durbin's going to come back, Dick Durbin's going to come back. There are, I think, 12 uncommitted Democrats. That means with the numbers currently, if he gets 9 of those 12 Democrats to be in favor of the deal and willing to filibuster it, he has won the whole thing. Obama wins the whole thing. Cleanly, he wins it, and I agree with you. I think it's a very big deal.
Well, it also, if
politically and substantively,
if he succeeds in getting enough votes to filibuster to end it, to win outright, that enhances the image of the presidency and the United States, I think, abroad in a great sense.
I think that's true. I mean, do you think that way? There's no doubt that this will be a huge part of Barack Obama's foreign policy legacy if he gets it. Do you think this will be the signature achievement of John Kerry as Secretary of State in the same way? The most important thing Kerry does?
Well, unless he somehow manages in these waning months of the Obama administration, 18 months, let's say 18 months, to pull together a peace accord, Israel and the Palestinians.
Right, wow. God, that'd be amazing if we could do that. All right.
Last night, the State Department released 7,000 pages of emails from Hillary Clinton's time as Secretary of State. No major bombshells to reveal. So, John, does the release of these emails make Clinton's troubles better, worse, or who cares?
Well, I think that this is pretty much a wash. There is some incredible stuff in these emails from the standpoint of bystanders. We like to, any time Sidney Blumenthal is involved in a story, it's delightful.
How about Lanny Davis?
Lanny, you can tell that story in a second. But Sidney Blumenthal writing these kind of crazy emails, kind of trashing various members of the Obama administration, David Axelrod, and so on. It's juicy, and it gives you a window into how much tension there still was between Team Clinton and Team Obama early in the administration. But in terms of the politics of it, I think for most voters, this does not get to the questions that the FBI is getting at, and I think in that sense, it's politically not going to hurt her. I mean, this is already a significant problem for her, but I don't think this makes it appreciably worse.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think the emails per se are a problem at all, other than the embarrassment factor involved, which is another reason why you don't ever want your emails, my emails, released the way these emails have been released.
No, I've scrubbed my server already.
Yeah, but, you know, it's the way it's been handled. We spoke to this yesterday. I mean, the way Hillary Clinton has handled the email thing reminds so many people, I think, of, oh, my God. Let's not go back there.
Now, your favorite of these emails is the Lanny Davis email. What was that about that email? Just tell what the email was and why you like it so much.
Well, Lanny Davis is a longtime Clinton acolyte. He's been around for years in Washington, D.C., and it's such a supplicating email begging Hillary Clinton to say something, anything nice about him in a potential magazine piece that's being written about his law firm. It is so horrendously embarrassing, saying, other than my wife, you're my best friend on earth, the most admirable person I've ever met other than Jesus. You know, I mean, it's just horrendous.
Would you say it was unctuous?
Oh, if I knew what that word meant, yes.
That's good. I'm trying to expand your vocabulary. We'll talk about that during the break. Up next, we go under the hood of our latest Iowa poll, the hidden winners, the hidden losers, all of it after this. Our guest tonight is two guests tonight. Joining us from Des Moines, our pollster, the great Ann Selzer, and from out in San Francisco, Ken Goldstein, our advertising and polling analyst. Guys, you have both been digging into these numbers in the Iowa poll. You know them better than anyone. And Ann, I want to start with you. What is it that the Iowa voters, on the basis of what you've seen here, what is it they're looking for? Every voter says they want a campaign of issues all the time, but is that what the numbers actually reflect in this poll?
Well, one of the things we like to do when we're creating poll questions is to pay attention to what people are saying. What are they complaining about? What are they looking for? And we heard people say Trump has nothing on the issues. He's thin on the issues. So we asked a question whether they wanted for each, your candidate, your first choice candidate, do you want more specific policy positions before you decide to vote? Or are you comfortable with this person figuring it out once they're in the White House? And the majority for every candidate we tested said they're comfortable waiting for them to be in the White House. Now, it's a little higher for Trump. 65% say that they trust him to figure it out versus 57% overall. But at the heart of that question was, is he playing by different rules from the other candidates? And it doesn't appear that he is. Same rules apply.
Ken, you know, one of the elements in the poll showed that Ben Carson, who also has no qualifications like Donald Trump, has drawn pretty much even with Donald Trump. And you know better than most that TV time, ad buys certainly enhance someone's candidacy. It's done in New Hampshire for John Kasich. But Ben Carson's media campaign in Iowa and elsewhere in the country is basically waving out the window of a passing car as he arrives in town. How is this happening?
Yeah, it's interesting, and of course, I'm the ad geek, so I pay attention to this sort of stuff. But Donald Trump is obviously sucking up so much media oxygen nationally. But what's going on in Iowa? Certainly, I'm sure Donald Trump's getting lots of free media in Iowa. But Ben Carson is dominating the paid television air war. So in places like Davenport and Ottumwa and Cedar Rapids and Des Moines, Carson has an advantage in the airwaves. And when you would expect advertising, paid advertising, to have an impact is when one side is up and the other sides aren't. And so he has really had generally the airwaves to himself, a little bit from Bobby Jindal, a little bit from a PAC that's supporting Lindsey Graham, but Ben Carson is winning the ad air war there, and looking at Ann's poll, it seems to have had an impact.
Ken, I'm going to stick with you on this question. The fact that Carson's doing so much advertising in Iowa, I think, is not widely known outside those who are actually seeing those ads. But the correlation between ad spending this early in the campaign and poll position is a pretty straightforward correlation. It's not the case with Hillary Clinton, though, who has the airwaves to herself, more or less, on the Democratic side out in Iowa, and yet her numbers are getting worse and worse. How do you explain that?
Yeah, I think that's really interesting. And maybe something that the folks having breakfast in the Naval Observatory might be paying attention to. Hillary Clinton has absolutely had the airways to herself with a very sizable buy in Iowa for fully the last month. And not only has she not gone up, but she's gone down. Now, obviously, there's a national media environment going on, and there's other issues going on, but if you have the airways all to yourself and you're not moving positive and you're not moving numbers in a positive way, what do you think is going to happen when everyone else is up and you're also taking shots from paid media as well? So that's a little bit of a tell, and I bet you something that the vice president's folks are paying attention to.
And one of your assets as a pollster, obviously, you just mentioned it, is the ability to listen to people that you're polling. When you're listening to the voters of Iowa, the contents of this poll, do you hear one overwhelming strain above any other? Is it like, I'm anti-government, I'm anti-politician? Is there one particular strong strain?
Well, I think it is very much that people feel disappointed in the way things have been going with government. And we've seen those in all kinds of polls, and not just in Iowa, that people say the nation is heading in the wrong direction. And that's been going on for years and years and years. And even though the players have changed out, they're still not feeling that there's any change. So to me, you have to look at the top of that Republican ticket and look at two people who've never held office and wonder, well, voters are saying they're ready to take that risk. That they have been so disappointed with the people who have proven track records that they're ready to say, okay, here's somebody that sounds smart, who sounds meaningful, and that their gut is right. Let's take a chance that they don't have the background.
And I'm going to stay with you just because I want to ask you, we spent a lot of time on the air over the last few days teasing through, talking about the headlines out of this poll. Trump's, where he's at, Ben Carson, the Hillary swoon, the Sanders surge. You have a couple of kind of hidden picks here of things to focus on, people have kind of overlooked. Well, a sort of hidden winner and a hidden loser in the poll. Why don't you talk about that?
Yeah. Well, the hidden winner, in a way, I think is Bobby Jindal, in that his favorability has grown 18 points since the last time we were in the field. And that's virtually a one-on-one, more people knowing who he is, and those people learning who he is liking him. It has not translated into votes. And so I think he's kind of lurking there and as having some upside potential. The hidden loser that nobody's really talking about is Rand Paul. And he was believed to have a benefit walking in, that his father had run here, spent a lot of time, kept a statewide organization in the state over 2 election cycles, and that he would be a known quantity to people who have that libertarian bent. And initially when we were polling, he was in double digits. He's now down to 4 percentage points, and his favorability has dropped from 55 down to 39. He's the hidden loser here.
Can the hidden winners, hidden losers, the top 4 in this poll have a combined 65% of the recipients' respondents. They are, obviously, Trump, Cruz, not Cruz second, Trump, Carson, Cruz, and Carly Fiorina. And yet, a shorter period of time ago, as 5, 6, 7 weeks, Scott Walker was thought to be, he's doing very well in Iowa. What do you do in terms of media if you're running Scott Walker's campaign at this stage?
Yeah, I think there's some bad news for Governor Walker in that poll as well. He's really gone down in all the Iowa polling. He's certainly gone down in Ann's polling. And it's a crowded atmosphere there, so it's not going to get easier to get your message out. And one of the interesting things about Trump is Trump was sort of sucking up all the oxygen at a time when candidates should have the chance to be a first mover, introduce themselves. So Governor Walker is definitely going to have to recalibrate and figure something out. But it's also an angry electorate. You named those 4 people. Those 4 people, Ted Cruz is a U.S. senator, but you certainly wouldn't call him establishment. And the 3 other leaders have never ever held elective office in their life, and 2 of them have never run for elective office in their life. But it is a agitated, angry Republican electorate that is clearly looking outside. They not only dislike President Obama, they're not only concerned about the direction of the country, they don't like Republicans in Congress.
And let me just finish up with you, and just in a few quick seconds here. Donald Trump, that anger, that mood of anger, good for him, I assume. Is Trump hit a ceiling yet in Iowa, or does he still have room to grow?
Well, 5 months ago, people were saying he'd hit the ceiling. So we've seen everything possible happen. His big flip on favorability makes me think he still has upside potential. But who knows? We'll see in the next poll.
We're looking forward to that next poll, and that'll give us another chance to talk to you two, Ann Selzer and Ken Goldstein. Thank you. Coming up, what exactly is Hillary hiding in those emails? We will show you after these words from our sponsor.
As we mentioned, the State Department released 7,000 new pages of Hillary Clinton emails last night. Conventional wisdom is that there are no smoking guns there, but Clinton's opponents are highly creative. So we put our crack team to work to imagine some of the vicious attacks that could be soon coming her way.
We've waited.
I want those emails out.
And now they're here.
Thousands more pages of Hillary Clinton's emails are now online.
And in this batch, no smoking gun.
Oh, really? What about this?
She was forwarded a story about a masked man in the Hillary Clinton mask robbed a bank in Virginia, and she wrote back, should I be flattered even a little bit?
Flattered by crime.
She emails a personal assistant for skim milk for tea.
Out of touch on dairy. Scandalous email after scandalous email.
Clinton asks a top aide to help her learn to use her so-called H-pad, the iPad.
She also asked about staffers, about what's the fish name? Gefilte fish. The gefilte fish, a controversial Jewish delicacy.
The messages Clinton didn't want you to see.
One of the shows Parks and Recreation on.
It's nice to know that she's a Leslie Knope fan.
But is Leslie Knope a fan of hers?
I just want to say thank you.
Hillary Clinton, what else is she hiding?
Gefilte fish, a controversial Jewish delicacy. Fabulous. We will be right back. All right, Mike, so there's been a lot of controversy in recent days over CNN's debate criteria, how you get on the main stage.
Right.
They were taking 2 months of polls from July all the way through to September. Now we've just heard, as they've just announced, they're shortening that thing up to make it just early August to the debate. That's going to be better for these candidates who've been on the rise recently, most notably Carly Fiorina, who's been complaining about the fact that the previous rules would have kept her off the main stage again. My question for you, should Carly Fiorina want to be on the main stage, or would she be better off being on that undercard, dominating again, and getting to complain about the fact that she was being discriminated against?
No, I think she's better off on the main stage. I think Chris Christie is going to be the loser here, though. He will more likely than not be off the main stage, replaced by Carly Fiorina.
And you don't think that it would have been better for her to be able to dominate and claim persecution? Not better for her? You think she's better off on the main stage?
Yeah, because she makes some sense, more so than the other candidates do.
All right, we're on twice a day at 5 and 8. So for now, me and Mike say to you, sayonara.